Hey, everybody, and welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for today's topic.
Yeah, me too.
As you know, we like to go really in-depth on these deep dives.
Sure.
So today we're talking all about lifting personnel with cranes.
That's right. And we've got some really interesting source material to dig into today.
Yeah, for sure. So let's just jump right in.
Okay.
So one of the things that really surprised me when I was looking at this stuff, and, we've got the ASME B30.5-2018 standard here,
Right.
was that cranes are not really designed to lift people.
Yeah, you would think,
Right.
With all the big things they lift and move around, that lifting people would be, kind of obvious.
You would think it would be like,
Straightforward.
yeah, like no problem.
Just another day at the office.
But apparently it's not that simple, is it?
No, not really. I mean, they are designed to move materials primarily. That's their main purpose.
Right.
And lifting personnel is kind of like a secondary thing.
Yeah, so this ASME B30.23, like, what is that all about?
Well, it's the standard, it's like, and it basically lays out all the rules and regulations for safely lifting people with cranes.
So, like, is it saying that you can't lift people with cranes, or is it saying, like...
Oh, no, it's not saying you can't.
Okay.
It's more like a how-to guide.
Okay, so it's like, if you are going to do this, you got to follow these rules.
Exactly.
Okay, so that makes sense, because it's like, why would there even be this whole document if you weren't supposed to do it at all?
Right, it wouldn't make sense.
So ASME B30.23, that's like the crane Bible then?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
If you're going to be lifting people.
I was reading through it, and I was trying to, like,
Wrap your head around it.
yeah, it's a lot of information.
It is.
But one thing that stood out to me was, it talks about using a special platform.
Yes, the personnel platform.
Yeah. What's the deal with that?
Well, think about it. You can't just hook a harness up to somebody and lift them up with a crane.
Well, for sure not.
It's way too dangerous.
Yeah, like swaying around and all that stuff.
Exactly. There needs to be a secure and stable platform
Right.
that's specifically designed to carry people safely.
So that's where this personnel platform comes in.
Right. And it's got to be, engineered properly.
Right.
Meet all the requirements in the standard.
Oh, so this ASME thing really, like, dictates what that platform needs to look like.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It has all kinds of specifications for, like, the size and the materials.
Okay.
The safety features, things like that.
So it's not just like, going down to the hardware store and grabbing a piece of plywood.
Oh, no, definitely not. This is serious business.
Okay.
People's lives are at stake.
Right. And that makes sense because, like you were saying earlier, cranes are designed to lift materials.
Right.
So a person is, like, way different than, like, a pallet of bricks or something.
Oh, yeah, totally different.
And a person can, like, panic and move around. And,
exactly.
yeah.
They could get scared, start swaying the platform,
Oh, man, that's a scary thought.
Yeah, it's definitely not something you want to mess around with.
And, I'm just thinking, like, the crane operator, too. Like, they got to be extra careful.
Oh, yeah, they have a huge responsibility.
Because any, like, sudden movement or a jerk
Exactly.
could be really dangerous.
And that's why communication is so important.
Oh, yeah, good point.
Between the operator and the people on the ground.
Right.
Everybody needs to be on the same page.
Okay.
Clear signals, no misunderstandings.
So we've got this platform you mentioned. It got to meet all the requirements of ASME B30.23. But I also saw something in there about the crane manufacturer's instructions.
Yeah, that's another crucial piece of the puzzle.
Okay, so is that like on top of the ASME stuff?
It is, yeah.
So it's like double the rules?
Basically, yeah, you've got to follow both.
Why is that? Why do we need the manufacturer's instructions too?
Well, because each crane is different. They have different capacities, different features.
Right.
And the manufacturer knows their crane best.
Okay, so it's like they might have like specific warnings or limitations or something.
Exactly. And they might even have additional safety procedures.
Okay, so it's like the ASME standard is kind of like the general rule book.
Right.
And then the manufacturer's instructions are like the specific rules for that particular crane.
Perfect analogy.
Okay, so it's like layers of safety.
Yeah, exactly. You want to make sure you're covering all your bases.
So we're talking about the platform, the crane itself, communication. But what about emergencies? Like, what happens if something goes wrong?
That's a great question. And, the truth is things can go wrong.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, we're dealing with heavy machinery here. There's always a risk.
So what do you do if, like, the power goes out or something?
Well, that's why it's so important to have emergency procedures in place.
Okay.
And to practice them regularly.
So everybody knows what to do.
Exactly. Everybody needs to know their role.
So if, like, something happens, they don't just, like, freeze up.
Right. You don't want people panicking and making things worse.
Okay, so what kind of things would be in an emergency procedure?
Well, it would depend on the specific situation.
Okay.
But it would cover things like, how to lower the platform safely.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
How to evacuate the personnel if necessary.
Right.
And who to contact for help.
So it's like having a plan B.
Yeah, basically, it's all about being prepared.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here today.
We have.
And I've learned a lot.
Me too.
So for anyone listening out there who's involved in crane operations, whether you're an operator, a safety manager, or just someone who works around cranes, I think the big takeaway here is that lifting personnel is a serious business.
For sure.
It's not something to be taken lightly.
And, I would add that it's not just about following the rules blindly.
Right.
It's about understanding why those rules exist.
Oh, that's a good point.
Thinking critically about the risks involved.
So like you said earlier, not just like going through the motions.
Exactly. Be engaged, be aware. And, one final thought I'd leave you with is think about all the factors that could affect a personnel lift.
Okay.
We've talked about some of them, but there are others too.
Like what?
Well, like weather conditions, for example.
I mean, that's a big one.
Wind speed visibility.
Yeah.
Those can all play a role.
And I guess like the experience level of the crew too.
Absolutely. That's a huge factor.
So it's not just about the equipment, it's about everything else that goes into it.
Exactly. It's all connected.
Well, this has been another fantastic deep dive. I always learn so much from these conversations.
Me too.
And a huge thank you to Safety One Source for making this all possible. They're doing some great work out there, keeping people safe.
They are.
So until next time, stay curious, stay knowledgeable, and most importantly, stay safe out there. We'll see you on the next deep dive.